Warm greetings. On behalf of WforW Foundation, welcome to another session of Friday.Waters. And in this session today, we are actually having Friday.Waters book reading session. So it's usually you know that Friday.Waters happens with 4 different kinds of sessions. One is water talkies, where we invite water related film and the crew of the film. Then water thesis club, where we invite researchers to talk about their research. Then we have, of course, this session, which is water reading club, book reading club, as we call it, and in which we invite authors and editors to present their ideas of writing book and also opportunities and challenges of doing edited volume or doing a solo book and things like that. So the focus is more on the making of the book, and we try to keep it light. Then the 4th Friday.Water session is usually on water arts, where we invite different artists who perform different forms of art forms and cultural, initiatives to convey the message of water. As I mentioned, the focus of Water Reading Club session is to discuss the book, but it is also to bring author and authors who have written books, novels, comics, etc. on the water matters in order to discuss with them the making of the book, novel, or comic and the issues around the subject they have covered in their manuscript. Besides bringing interest in the water conversation, the session also increases the outreach of the book, novel, and comic in the water networks as well as in the society at large. My name is Mansee Bal Bhargava. Today, I shall discuss the making of the book, namely Water Heritage of India. And to do the honor, we have Peeyush Bhadviya, who is the editor of this 2022 edited book. The book publication is supported by Indian National Trust for Art and Cultural Heritage, INTACH, as we all know it, and published by Aryas Publishers Distributors. The Water Heritage of India is basically a collection of research papers presented and discussed in the National Virtual Conference on Water Heritage of India, organized by the Department of History, Mohanlal Sukhadia University, Udaipur, in association with INTACH Udaipur chapter, and that was in 2021. This volume brings out the historical, cultural, religious, social, and other aspects of the water heritage of India. Before I go further into the book, let me first introduce Peeyush and get him on board to discuss the book. So thank you, first of all, Dr. Peeyush Bhadviya, to really accept our invitation and share your wisdom and experience about the book. And importantly, my apology that we had to postpone because of some technical issues from my end, and you were kind enough to give us an appointment again on this Friday. So Dr. Peeyush Bhadviya is a senior assistant professor at Department of History, Mohanlal Sukhadia University, Udaipur in Rajasthan. He has edited several books, and one of them, of course, is Water Heritage of India, and one which caught my attention is Textile Heritage of India, and also in Hindi, Bharat Itihas Mein Pashu Pakshi. So he has this, I think, the knack of writing these compilations, compendiums. Let me just find out from him when we discuss. He has written several research papers and published in national and international journals, organized several international and national conferences, webinars, which all academicians have to do, and he's doing it with wholeheartedness. He did his PhD on a topic, a critical study on the revolutionary movement in Rajasthan, and that also caught my attention when I was reading about it. So to keep it short here, I will put the detailed bio in the chat box. Let us go to Peeyush and start understanding. So once again, thank you for accepting our invite to share your learning and writing experience with us. Welcome to our Friday.Waters book reading session. I would like to invite you with your opening remarks on how did you decide, or what was the idea of, first of all, the conference, and that what went into coming up with an idea of making an edited volume of it. Thank you so much, Peeyush, and over to you.
Thank you, Dr. Mansee Bal Bhargava, for inviting me for this Friday.Water session. Since I live in Udaipur, the city of lakes, obviously when we move across these lakes, we get the knowledge of its building, its architecture, its planning, and being an historian, I just got to know about how the Maharanas or the erstwhile rulers used to think about the water management in Udaipur city. So that gave me an idea that similar structure should stand throughout the subcontinent and especially in India, and especially living in the state of water scarcity, Rajasthan, which has two-third area under desert. The west of the Aravalli Hills have desert, and there the water management holds a key point to the people living there and for the rulers to manage them. But in Udaipur, it's a semi-arid area. We have sufficient quantity of water in the South Rajasthan, Southeast Rajasthan. So that was a catchy point for me to organize a national virtual conference. And another reason was that during Corona period, we could organize only the virtual conference. If
Yes.
not, then I would have organized it physical form in Udaipur. So it was just a series of such topics which we do not include in history. First book I just planned was Food Heritage of Rajasthan. That was a
Yes.
physical conference because we don't study the history of the food in that form. There's a lesser intention or attention to that topic. And next was this water heritage and then textile you mentioned. And the topics which I have taken in the series involves the heritage of India, which should be known to the present generation and being utilized by the future generation. Because when we are talking about the rulers, their administrative formats, their wars, then there are conflict zone in India. Then
Yes.
there are groups of historians doing their work. One group will
Yes.
stand for one thing, another for another thing, and it just mess up the whole history. So the normal
Mm.
student don't know what to study and what to learn from them. But when you understand the ancient wisdom of our ancestors, like water, like textile, like food, and how we
Yes.
have depicted the animals in the frescoes, in the temples, architecture, utilize them in the expansion of kingdom, domestication, then I think personally it brings out learning things for the coming generation or the present generation. That's how I planned about this book. So it's just not me, it's the contributors, those who are
Yes. We
given
will
their
come to
chapters.
that.
I could
Yes.
find two people joining the session, Rongsan Man from Nagaland and Surya Prakash Vyas from Jodhpur. So their chapters
Yes.
are included in this book. So it's just
Yes.
the collective effort that the book has been brought,
Yes.
and I am just the editor of the book. So my
Mm.
thanks to those contributors and scholarly articles who during the Corona couldn't move to the field, but whatever knowledge they had, they presented in the
Yes.
conference and wrote scholarly articles or chapters which were included in the book of 2022 edition. This is how the book came out. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you so much. Wonderfully put. And actually, I have questions already assigned for the participants who are here. And I'm so lucky that they are here because, as you know, the session is laid out with some of the questions which are going to come from my end. And because we are going to discuss how the book was made. So let me just go further. Thank you so much for the opening remark. So basics of the book, The Water Heritage, importantly, is available in Flipkart and Amazon. Let me just inform everyone. So it's ready to be achieved, and it's published, all reprinted by Om Publications. So it's also available on their homepage. So coming to the brief content of the book, Water Heritage, which makes an important contribution also to the state of water heritage and understanding of experts and, as you mentioned, enthusiasts, which can and includes present generation and the future generation to come. The water management and the management of allied resources. You have you have covered biodiversity, forest, other things in the book as well. And giving an in-depth, I will say, conceptual insight to understand theory and practice dichotomy, because these chapters are written more in the essay format. So that was very easy for me to read. It's a thick book. Let me also tell our viewers here, the book has 435 pages, including the front and the back page. What was the most interesting and impressive thing for me was that among the 44 chapters, there are 29 chapters written in English and 15 chapters are written in Hindi. And that was really, really fascinating for me to see because honestly, I have not seen a book in the past written around water which has this bilingual richness. So, with this, I will start with some questions from some of the chapters. With the paucity of time, we are going to only cover few chapters, not all the 44 chapters. So, My question to you actually comes from the very first chapter where it is about water heritage of Southeast Rajasthan. You already gave this little flavor from Udaipur, and it's written by Madhusudan Acharya and Rajyapal Sharma. I can understand, Piyush, that you need not go in depth into the book because, again, as you mentioned, it's a collective effort. But just to understand these authors, because all these are my future speakers, you understand what I'm saying. So I would like to understand the essence of each question and each chapter. So over to you.
About the first chapter, Water Heritage of Southeast Rajasthan by Professor M.S. Acharya, he's just
Yes.
mentioning especially about the Jhalawar district, the water
Mm,
structures, Gomti Sagar tank and Nagars and Kapund and certain lakes. But here again in Jhalawar, the same principle is applied, which is applied in the
mm,
Udaipur, that every lake is linked with another and even to the river stream or the rivulets. So the
mm,
rivulets or the
mm,
canal water will be coming in the main tanks or the lakes, which we call, and if they overflow, the water will move to the river. So in
mm,
this chapter, he says that the water structures of Jalawars are so interconnected that the outflow will be in the Kali Sindh river. That's a major river
mm,
flowing in through the Jalawad area. So this
mm,
water management, which does not create flood in the city if there is overflow or
mm.
overran. Okay. And again, obviously the water structure is related to the necessity of the life, to the religious part, to the political
Yes.
part. So these things are mentioned. And again, he mentions how the encroachment is damaging the water structures and negligence of the government and unawareness of the people also. They are not aware how to protect these heritage structures which were utilized by the human life earlier. So these things are mentioned in this chapter especially, and he has just given an overview of all the important
Yes.
water structures in Jalawad.
Yeah, very well put, because what I liked about the whole edited volume, it took me some time to read it also because of my traveling schedule as well. But I could complete one chapter very quickly because they were written in a very short way. So at least reading that one may inculcate that taste or, interest of reading in depth. So it gives a flavor of the topic and the subject here. Just give me a moment. Sorry, I'm sorry the laptop completely burnt out. I'm so sorry. Uh, so I was just discussing about the way the book is written, how it makes it so convenient to finish one chapter, and if one is really interested, can go in depth. And that's what I will say for youngsters. It becomes very easy to consume this book because the young generation may not have that attention period, so it makes it quite convenient to go through that book. But that brings me to the question from chapter 2, which is about inter-regional timber trade along the rivers of Western India, written by Luisa Rodriguez. So, I just want to understand from this whole idea of trans-boundary nexus between forest, timber, development, and I think it's beautifully highlighted there. Would you like to add something in? And I know you are also interested to showcase the entire layout of the chapter. So I think maybe we take that first and then go further.
About that question related to the inter-regional trade, see, right from the
Mm.
Harappan civilization, we have evidences of trade. Lothal was a dockyard. We have found dockyards. So
Yes.
trade through the Arabian Sea, Persian Gulf, and Red Sea. So we were having this type of trade among
Mm.
the countries also, among the civilizations also. But this inter-regional trade depended on the rivers, because prior to 1853, before the coming of the railways or introduction of railways, the bulks of timber was to be required for the British Navy, for the British
Yes.
Army, for their
Yes.
bungalows, furniture. So they were utilizing those rivers of the Western India, especially Maharashtra, Karnataka, Malabar area, and these areas. So that is
Mm.
specifically mentioned by the author, Professor Louisa Rodriguez, that these
Yes.
rivers were so important for the British to have their timber trade required for their maintenance of empire in
Mm.
India. The wood was
Mm-hmm.
required in the railways also in the coming time.
Yes.
Railways was required. Now we have
Yes.
compartment made of metal or another alloys, but earlier
Yes.
it
But
was wood.
earlier, yes, it was wood. So, I mean, the nexus is very well put with economy, infrastructure, trade, and everything in that chapter. So that's why I was so curious to go through it and have question for you. My next question is actually something which is written by you only on chapter 8, and you talk about unique water management of Udaipur. And I'm sure most of the people who get into the water sector, they cannot escape understanding of उदयपुर और इवन जिसको हिंदी में बोलते हैं ना मत्था टेकना, तो उदयपुर में मत्था टेके बगैर आप पानी पे काम नहीं कर सकते. So the question is not about the chapter itself here, but Piyush, I really want to understand from you, uh, when did you really realize that you belong to the water sector? I know you do a lot of this historical revolutionary work in other sectors as well, but I'm sure there must be an inner calling somewhere. You hail from Udaipur, or what it is that that keeps you wet in the water sector all the time, and maybe you can highlight on the chapter as well.
Um, uh, I did my BSc and then MA history. So I went for the IAS examination. I appeared for the interview twice there and Rajasthan Administrative Service. So my earlier outlook was for the administrative service. So when I joined this service of assistant professor, it was to be a job-like thing, not a career-like thing. But when you dwell into a particular job also, then slowly and slowly it appears to be your career.
Yes.
Uh, uh, Residing in the Udaipur city, looking the water places, that was just a pleasure activities for me before that.
Yes.
But
Yes.
when I saw the movie Bahubali, where you will find
Yes.
that when invaders are invading and Bahubali opens the big gate of the tank and the water just takes away the forces. If you could remember, if the audience would
Yes,
have
yes,
seen that
yes.
film,
It's like flood.
the flood situation. So he opened the gates
डैम
of
जैसे
the water.
खोलते हैं, जैसे
Yes,
डैम
yes,
खोलते हैं.
yes, yes. Similarly, in Udaipur, we have Uday Sagar built for the purpose of Maratha invasion was there or Mughal invasion would have come. So the gate was constructed like that
Yes,
in
the
Uday
sluice are
Sagar.
there.
So if the gate is just opened, the water will just flush out of that and just destroy the army. So this water structure of Uday Sagar was first constructed by Maharana Uday Singh in the 1559. So when he decided to make Udaipur his capital, the first construction was Uday Sagar embankment, and later on other lakes were being built. So when I just planned for this conference again, then I got to know about that interconnection things and got a map of that through the government of Rajasthan site, how the water is coming and how they have developed the Devas Yojana, which will fill the lakes throughout the year, and the extra water will flow into the river, and we will try to make it the Venice. Okay, we get it that the Udaipur is called the Venice of the East, but no water in the river. So you can't say just for the. So now they have planned it, but their planning has some, you also know, some issues related to the river. But so this was the thing which cropped into my mind about Udaipur. So I wrote unique water management because it was a successful water management Udaipur. No lagging, no lacking, and how the geographers of that Marana time and how the hydraulic engineers have put into the terrain the use that how now the engineers cannot do that work without the instruments. It is very difficult using satellite and GPS. But at that time, you don't have those things, and you are understanding the terrain and this lake and again the slope. This is remarkable about Udaipur. So not only the Maharana Pratap stand for Udaipur, these hydraulic engineers of erstwhile of ancestors stand. That is the thing.
Wonderful. So, I mean, I also get to know a little bit more about you this way by asking this question. So, let me move on to the next chapter to ask you questions on, a question from chapter 12, actually, where where Vindhya Shetri has really written wonderfully on the sacred, I can't even pronounce that word. Please, pardon me for that. Khechio Palari Lake in the Himalayas in Sikkim. And the sacred groves and sacred gardens are very common in the Himalayas. I mean, I had previously learned about it from Darjeeling and Shiliguri. And this was my another very refreshing to read them. So what do you really recall from this interaction on this chapter?
See, ma'am, first I was lucky enough to get a speaker from the Northeast Sikkim, Dr.
Yeah,
Vindhya
that's
Chetri.
also a big catch. I'm going to go to wrong Sinban also
if you
now.
go through the book covers the whole India, ranging from
Yes, I
Northeast
was
to
going to say
Kashmir to
that
South.
towards
And
that. Yeah.
so Madam Vindhya told in the book in the chapter about the Ketchopalari Lake. That is a
Yes.
sacred lake because some festivals are celebrated uh, close to the lake. Lake is a
Mm.
sacred because Guru Padma Swami have given wishes to the people of that area. Padma
Yes.
Swami Guru. So
Yeah.
some caves are also there close to the lake. Some temples are
Yes.
there, and they are celebrating some festivals. Twice they celebrate the festival there at Ketchupalari Lake, and the consort of Buddha Tara, female consort, also worshipped there. So such things are related to the Ketchupalari Lake and how the Buddhism is flourishing there in Sikkim. You can get an
Yes.
essence of that from that chapter also. So
Yeah.
in Sikkim also you can see the same things: worshipping of water, religious things are attached to the lakes. So these things are being received from that chapter.
Wonderful. Yeah. I'm just putting my. Can you hear me? Because I'm changing the audio system. Is it
Yes,
okay?
yes, you're right.
Okay. Yeah. Thank you. Actually, I'm going to bring at this point our co-authors, I will say, who are present here because that will be good to have them. So, Rongsen Ben, if I am pronouncing your name correctly, please say yes. And if not, please pardon me. So, Rongsen Ben Longkumer, did I pronounce your name correctly? And you write wonderfully on Springs as Lifeline, and you talk about narratives from Enhulmi village. Would you like to add something here in this conversation? Go ahead.
Hi, good evening.
Hi.
First of all, I mean, I think you've done a great job pronouncing my name because it's quite difficult.
Yes, I did it. I did it. Yes, thank
Yeah.
you.
Thank you so much for organizing this. This actually came as a surprise for me as I was going through the chats, and I'm so glad that I came across this message from Peeyush sir. Um, First of all, I think this is a very good initiative to discuss the research work that we have done. It's a great platform. For me, this particular paper was actually one of my first that was published in a book. I have
Mhm,
not had any writings published yet till then. So this is like my first baby.
mhm.
So it holds a very special place in my heart even today.
I'm sure.
And this I just wanted to bring out the traditional cultural affiliation of the source, that is the spring, to the Nagas. And of course, every Naga tribe has their own version of how they relate themselves and their tribe to springs. But I just wanted to bring out and give a gist of the the general way of how people viewed springs as a source of life for the tribes to thrive.
Mhm.
So I just wanted to add that. And I think whatever discussions that you want to take up, I think you can just take up from here.
Okay, thank you so much. And I also
Thank
wish
you.
to inform you, Rongsenben, that we are running the longest water conversation in the world, and I will be very happy to have a detailed discussion with you. We also run, as I mentioned, Friday.Waters Thesis Club, where we invite young researchers to present their ideas. And we have mentor in that session, where we mentor the researcher to look at how things are. So in case you are interested, otherwise we would love to have you as speaker in our flagship program, which is Wednesdays for Water. So
Thank you.
I'm
Thank you.
continuing with you, Piyush. Again, thanks for your response on talking about your experiences, both for publication and the context where you have written the book. So, Piyush, my next question is something very close to my heart, which I'm also working at this moment on Women for Water. And there is a chapter by Harihara Srinivas Rao on women and water management in Karnataka. And we know that there have been a lot of women movements in the water sector. And Karnataka pioneers in some of them. You know, you have huge cooperatives of women who have taken lead. So would you like to throw light on that chapter?
That chapter discusses about the donations and the interest taken by the royal queens first,
Yes,
and that continues with respect to the present generation. Miss Priya, she is
yes,
taking interest in saving the water structures in Karnataka.
yes,
So
yes,
that chapter speaks a lot about the women's contribution in Karnataka, right from the medieval times to the modern times. Because of the
Yes.
Hoysala kingdom, Vijayanagar Empire, and many empire have constructed such water structures,
Hmm.
and especially how the queens. This is a remarkable feature, especially with respect to the woman, which I have come across through my conference and the book also, because the best thing in Rajasthan and other states also, especially Karnataka, what the queens or the rich women are trying to donate is for water, because they have
Yes.
understood that if you donate for the water, and the structures will be useful for the coming generation. And again, which is mentioned in the Puranas, Vedas, that you will get Swarg if you are donating for making water structures.
Yes, absolutely. It's written in our Vedas. In
Vishnu,
yes.
Dharmotar Puran,
Hmm. Hmm.
Nandikeshwar Puran, they
Hmm.
are mentioning. So they are taking too much interest. So that's
Hmm.
in the chapter related to
Yes.
Harihar Srinivasan Rao. Before you ask
Yes.
another question, when Rongsen Man Madam have come, she speaks about the Inulumi village in the Phek district of Nagaland. Uh,
Hmm.
how the spring becomes important for the life of the village, especially Inulumi. They are
Hmm.
having conflict with the close-up village, with the surrounding village, and
Hmm.
they have been able to save themselves due to the water structures. Water is present, and now the government have come across their conflict and resolved the conflict between two villages. And the chief priest spring, Mao Juku, they had so many springs, but that is called Mao Juku, and that is the chief priest of the whole tribe of Naga of that village, and that is being protected. And children have to do that work, manual work related to the spring if it is spoiled. So
Hmm.
the whole family is involved, and they are giving chance to clean the spring and surrounding area if it is just disturbed. So the whole
Hmm.
village
Hmm.
has a sanctity for that spring. So this becomes important for the Nagaland, thanks to Rongsen Man. Yes, now you can
And
continue.
thank you so much that you could even pronounce that word so beautifully. I really thought of repeating, but I don't think I can dare to repeat it. Thank you so much for highlighting a little bit additional to that chapter. I would like to go further to another chapter. And you know what is the best part of the book, as you rightly mentioned in the beginning, that through this book one can traverse across the country and even to the neighboring country, because we have questions from Bagmati river as well. Uh, so it's so beautiful that you can travel in through this book from one place to other. And let me tell you honestly, Piyush, at this point in time, that I did not read the book based on chapter 1 to 44. I just read based on my interest, you know. So I was reading this chapter at this Abhi, then sometime that chapter. So I did not go in sequence. And that is also something I would like to highlight about the book. As I mentioned earlier, also that the chapters are small, which makes it easy for a reader to finish it in one go. And you are not obliged to read the book from page 1 to page 430, you know, in an order to miss anything. You can read it like a small story, one chapter, and then take a rest, take another chapter. So if I want to travel today to Maharashtra, or Udaipur or Nagaland or Goa, I can do that based on the chapter, you know. So I was really traveling in my head across. So my next question is to you on importance of water element in folk culture of South Konkan and Goa, and written by Shilpa Shashikant Wadekar. So, and it beautifully talks about how culture and social aspects of human lives are so strongly connected with the water systems. So would you like to throw light on that?
It's very beautifully carved chapter because it involves various festivals, not a single thing. She has taken Homecom festival, Nariyal Puja,
Hmm.
Shimgo festival, and certain other things have been mentioned in that.
Hmm.
Some mud plays there in the Konkan area. So
Hmm.
the festival of the mud during the rain, they will play Hello
Hmm.
festival like that.
Hmm.
So, and she has spoken about Sateri, some aunt goddess also there in her
Okay. Hmm.
chapter, aunt goddess. So very
Hmm.
interesting that they are worshipping the aunt rock or aunt
Hmm.
sand structures. What aunts make in their living, they make, and then they will take into the kalash, and then they will worship
Hmm.
it, roam in the town or village and worshipping the ants. So it's very remarkable. So that kalash is also being washed and water is also put. So certain things are there related to water and this type of structure. So certain festivals are being depicted in the whole chapter. And
Yes.
even when I will again talk about the Holi, I have edited one more book, Holi. The Shigmo is the
Ah.
Holi of Goa, that area, Konkan and Goa area.
Hmm.
So Holi is related to the water. So she also
Yes.
mentions that how water is related to the different festivals of the human life of that area
Hmm.
that is being
Hmm.
depicted in the chapter.
Yes, wonderfully written. I will completely agree with you. As again, I have to apologize to all our viewers that we cannot discuss 44 chapters, and that's why I had to really take a very, I will say, strong decision to decide upon what to discuss and all. And I have tried my best to really cover India geographically, so that we can really see and get a sense of the overall water heritage of India. And that's the reason I'm going random in the selection of chapters and random in my questions. So please bear with me on this, Piyush, because I could not really cover all the chapters. So that's what it is. And I'm sure you understand about it. My next question to you is on the river Narmada, very close to my heart. I belong from Chhattisgarh, and in my young age, it was one MP, and going to Amarkantak and looking and experiencing the Udgam of Narmada was extremely holy for us, even today, for that matter. And the book is written by, the chapter is written by Medha Dubey, wonderfully written, the distinctive architecture along the river Narmada. Being an architecture student and professional myself, I was quite attracted to the book. And there's another chapter also on architecture. So I thought I'll just pick this because it also represents the central part of the country. So from the Udgam to the largest water infrastructure we have in the country, I think the chapter really pays a good tribute. So I would like to hear you out about how Medha really did it on this chapter.
Medha Dubey, madam, has let us travel from the origin place of the river Amarkantak to
Yes.
the Gujarat, where the river falls. So
Mm-hmm.
she has started from Amarkantak, where the group of temples are made, where at the origin place,
Yes.
worshipping that area from the
Yeah.
Narmada comes
We
the
have
lifeline
gone
of,
so many times in our
yes.
childhood.
Then,
Yes.
interestingly, she takes the course of the river through Adamgarh Rock Shelter Caves in Hoshangabad, second is place where we can. So then Omkareshwar, then Mamaleshwar, some temples are being mentioned, and again the fort, last Daberi fort is being mentioned. The
Yes.
gate, wonderful gates are close to the Narmada River.
Yes.
So when the river travels from one place to another, so you can just see the architecture, the forts, the temples, so everything close to the rivers. So what
Yes.
is coming to my mind is that one PhD thesis can be attributed to the whole river. If there are hundreds of
Yes.
rivers in India, you can
Absolutely.
write one.
Absolutely.
From that we come through that chapter of Medha Dubey. So one
Yes.
river, one thesis. So one river can be talked in so many days about the,
Absolutely. The social, ecological, cultural, political, everything
yes,
can be covered.
yes.
So well put. So let me now take some chapters from Hindi portion of the book. So the book is laid out in such a way that the first 29 chapters are in English, and then the last 15 chapters are in Hindi. And one chapter I would like to really take your attention to is chapter 30, which is Jal or Jal Strot Koop, written by Shri Krishna Jugnu. And I was just trying to break my head into this whole discourse which goes on in most of the water departments and also situations where when we talk about water management, and especially in urban setup, and especially when professionals and policymakers are talking, we are mostly concerned about the water supply, the distribution, and things like that. But when you talk to environmentalists, ecologists, when you talk to scientists, the whole discourse moves to the water resource management. So this dichotomy of water service management, water discourse management, water resource management is beautifully captured there. So what is your take on that?
First, my take will be on Dr. Shri Krishna Jugnu. To the
Okay.
viewers, to the listeners, he has
Yes.
written more than 200 books. He
You
has
know,
written a
very
wonderful
well
book
put.
on the water also. So he is understand he is to be understood as a most um, intelligent or more knowledgeable wise person in our Udaipur area regarding so many things: architecture, general history, water history, environmental history, tribal history. So that person who is from school is just teaching in the secondary level school, Hindi teacher. So that teacher inspires us to do work. First thing about the author
Absolutely.
I have mentioned, he has received so many awards.
And that's the most beautiful thing I think I am enjoying in this conversation, Piyush. Let me take a moment, sorry for interruption, that you are really paying the due acknowledgement that every author deserves. And I feel so good that you know every author so well. And you know, you are already giving me a library of future speakers, and that's also very encouraging for me. So you are going to have difficult time with me in future, because I am going to go after you to get their contacts and have them on the platform.
Accepted. That is accepted. Maybe Swarg waiting for me according to Vishnu Dharmotar Puran. No problem.
Yes. So and it is really for me a fortune that through you I get to know about sir, because I just knew him, I mean, as a person, but I didn't know that I can reach out to him through you now. So please continue your
Yes, in that
discussion.
chapter, Dr. Shri
Yeah.
Krishna Jugnu has mentioned about the wells. So in Hindi, he is writing about the coop. So he is mentioning small coops, big coops. So छोटा कुआं में हिंदी में तो छोटा कुआं को कुई कहते हैं, बड़े कुएं को कुआं कहेंगे. फिर कुआं कैसे इंसान के धर्म में, उसके मान्यताओं में एक जगह रखता है, वो बताते हैं कि कुएं के आसपास बैठकियां होती थी, लोग बैठ सकते हैं, एक अच्छा पेड़ लगा दीजिए, उससे छाया में बैठेंगे तो रेस्टिंग प्लेसेस हो जाएगा, आने जाने वालों के लिए भी हो जाएगा, उस गांव के एरिया के लिए, कॉलोनी के एरिया के लिए. क्योंकि जनरली एक बड़े कॉलोनी में एक कुआं होगा, या गांव में तो करीब करीब बड़े खेतों में कुआं होगा ही. तो कैसे वो इरिगेशन पर्पस को रिजॉल्व कर रहा है, कैसे रिलीजियस कुआं पूजन की बात कर रहे हैं कि बच्चे के जन्म के समय कुआं पूजन का जो 11वें दिन होता है कुआं पूजन, तो वो उसके फिर उस कुएं से जुड़े हुए जो पुली सिस्टम है, अरट है, उसके बारे में बात करते हैं, पर्शियन व्हील के बारे में बात करते हैं उस चैप्टर के अंदर. फिर वो बताते हैं कि कैसे पुराणों में नांदेश विष्णु धर्मोत्तर पुराण है, नंदीकरण पुराण है, या जो दूसरी बुक्स है, राजवल्लभ की बुक है अपराजित प्रच जो पुस्तक है, उन पुस्तकों में कैसे वाटर मैनेजमेंट, वाटर स्ट्रक्चर्स की जानकारी दी गई है. और ये पुस्तकें कैसे राजाज्ञा में या राजा की ऑर्डर्स पे जो लोग तैयार करते थे, तो यानी इतना नॉलेज एंशियंट हमारे पास था कि उस पे बल्क्स एंड बल्क्स ऑफ बुक्स हैव बीन रिटन, ओरिजिनल कंटेक्स्ट. सो वो चैप्टर उस दिशा में जाता है कि हम बुक्स में कैसे मेंशन्ड है कुओं के बारे में, ये पुलिस सिस्टम के बारे में कैसे मेंशन्ड है, इरिगेशन के बारे में कैसे मेंशन्ड है, और कुएं को वो सेंट्रलाइज रखकर अपनी बात कह रहे हैं.
हाँ हाँ हाँ, बिल्कुल. मैं एक रैंडम चैप्टर लेना चाहती हूँ, क्योंकि मैं खुद छत्तीसगढ़ी हूँ, और छत्तीसगढ़ में एक बहुत ही अच्छा लिखा गया है, बहुत साझा उस पे वर्णन है उसका. छत्तीसगढ़ की जीवनदायिनी महानदी का ऐतिहासिक एवं सांस्कृतिक अध्ययन, तो दिस हिस्टोरिकल एंड कल्चरल स्टडी. और उन्होंने मैं जिस शहर में मेरा जन्म है, अरपा, उन्होंने अरपा के ऊपर एक बहुत अच्छी पंक्ति लिखी है. मैं वो कह के आपको ये चैप्टर के बारे में थोड़ा हाईलाइट करने बोलूंगी. अरपा पैरी के धार महानदी के है अपार, इंद्रावती हाँ पखारे तोर पैया, मेहा पाव परत हो तोर भुइया, जय हो छत्तीसगढ़ मैया. बिकॉज बिलासपुर में हमारी बिलासा बाई है, और छत्तीसगढ़ में हम लोग जैसे मैया बोलते हैं, इवन नदी को भी मैया कहा जाता है. बहुत ही अच्छे से उन्होंने पिक्टोरियल एविडेंसेस भी दिए हैं, किस तरह हिस्टोरिकल और कल्चरल हमारा जुड़ाव है नदी के साथ, लाइफ के साथ, और हमारा स्पिरिचुअल कनेक्शन भी है. आप कुछ कहना चाहेंगे इस चैप्टर के बारे में?
मैम, the article is scholarly written by पूजा सांकला, ऐतिहासिक एवं पावन शिप्रा नदी और शिप्रा का सिंहस्थ मेला, और जो वो कुंभ से जोड़ती है, और शिप्रा का उद्गम पे बात करेंगी, और उसको माँ कहकर वो उस चैप्टर में कहेंगी कि उसकी प्रतिदिन पूजा होती. तो रिवर्स की, सारे रिवर्स की करीब करीब पूजा होती. जो पेरेनियल रिवर है, फ्लो है वाटर में, वहां पे पूजा हो रही है भारत में. तो वाराणसी का भी हम देखते हैं गंगा घाट पे जो भी है, और नहीं तो प्रधानमंत्री जी ने तो उसको बहुत ऐसा रोचक बना ही दिया है. तो इस प्रकार से वो बातें करती है. स्पेशली मुझे जो चीज उसमें स्ट्राइक करती है, संदीपनी ऋषि का आश्रम वो बताती है, जहाँ
हाँ
श्री कृष्ण भगवान और बलराम जी ने शिक्षा प्राप्त करी। तो मुझे वो
हाँ हाँ
उस चैप्टर में बहुत स्ट्राइक किया कि शिप्रा नदी का ये भी इतिहास है कि वहां पे उसके किनारे आश्रम थे। आप देखिए कि
हम्म
नदी सिर्फ सिविलाइजेशन के प्लेस नहीं है, टीचिंग वेन्यू भी है। गुरुकुल सिस्टम भी ऑब्वियसली फॉरेस्ट में होगा तो नदी या तालाब के किनारे ही होगा वो भी। तो
जी
वो
जी
जो मेंशन है, लेकिन साथ ही वो बताती है एंड में आते आते कि कैसे उसका पानी प्रदूषित हो रहा है। उसके पानी को जब एनालिसिस किया तो जो ग्रेडिंग बताती है,
जी
डी ग्रेड पे पहुंच गया पानी। तो शिप्रा
जी
नदी जहाँ उसको माँ कहकर पूजा हो रही है, उसी का लोग बाग अवेयर नहीं है और उसको प्रदूषित कर
जी
रहे हैं। तो ठीक है, लोगों का नॉलेज जितना है, लेकिन जो एजेंसीज है, गवर्नमेंट एजेंसीज है, एनजीओज हैं, जिनको इसमें इंटरेस्ट है, जिनका काम है, जिनका जॉब है या के,
जी
तो वो उनको कैसे नहीं कर पा रहे हैं। वो विषय उठाती है उसमें और
जी
नदी को
जी
मोक्षदायक बताती है। उसके नहाने से, वहां पे करने से आपको काफी पुण्य मिलता है। तो ये बातें उन्होंने, पूजा जी ने इस चैप्टर में लिया है।
जी जी एक अगेन राजस्थान में वापस जा रही हूँ आपके साथ। चित्तौड़गढ़ के दुर्ग जो फोर्ट के अंदर जो काफी अच्छे कुंड हैं, उसमें जल प्रबंधन में गोपाल साल्वी जी ने लिखा है। मैंने चित्तौड़ कई बार देखा है और हमेशा आश्चर्य होता है कि उस जमाने में भी पानी का इतना मतलब उनको नॉलेज था, और इंजीनियरिंग का नॉलेज था मोस्ट इम्पोर्टेंटली, कि जो ये समावेश, एक इकोलॉजी, पानी को समझना और इंजीनियरिंग को समझना कि ऐसा पानी रखेंगे तो पानी रहेगा, ये गोपाल जी ने बहुत अच्छे से इसमें कवर किया है। आप कुछ कहना चाहेंगे इस पे?
देखिए मैडम, आपने बताया कि कैसे उस समय फोर्ट के बारे में, सबसे पहले चित्तौड़ का फोर्ट मेंशन होता है। चित्रांगद मौर्य ने बनाया था। उसका लिंकेज हम करते हैं तो शायद मौर्य डायनास्टी से आता है, क्योंकि इसका सरनेम
जी
वो है। फोर्ट का स्ट्रक्चर बहुत अच्छा फोर्ट है, आपने भी देखा है, और मैसा के पठार पे है। तो
जी
अब उस फोर्ट पे ऊपर जाएंगे तो पानी नहीं रहेगा। तो इतने बड़े फोर्ट में, क्योंकि वो 13 किलोमीटर का उसका वो है, वो एरिया
जी
लगभग, तो उसको कैसे वहां पे पीपल रहेंगे, या आर्मी रहेगी, या नोबिलिटी और किंग रहेंगे। तो उन्होंने वाटर स्ट्रक्चर्स पे ध्यान दिया। तो पानी कहाँ से आएगा, क्योंकि पठार के ऊपर है तो कोई नदी तो आ नहीं रही है। तो वो
जी
पानी को वाटर हार्वेस्टिंग उन्होंने जो टेक्निक अडॉप्ट करी है कि कहाँ कहाँ डिप्रेशन है, उसको कैसे तैयार करके वाटर चैनल्स को अंदर अंदर तैयार करके भी उन्होंने काम किया है। तो 84 वाटर स्ट्रक्चर्स का मेंशन है, लेकिन इंपॉर्टेंट स्ट्रक्चर्स अभी आपको देखने को 8 या 10 ही मिलेंगे। कुक्कुटेश्वर कुंड
जी
से लेकर गोमुख कुंड से, तो ऐसे आपको 8-10 विजिबल होते हैं। लेकिन अगर हम सर्च करें जीपीएस से या सैटेलाइट सिस्टम से, तो हमको 84 डिप्रेशन मिलते हैं वहां पे चित्तौड़
जी
फोर्ट के ऊपर। तो वो ही बता रहे हैं
जी
कि कैसे ये जो वाटर स्ट्रक्चर है वहां की लाइफ लाइन है, कि बिना उसके वो
जी
चित्तौड़ कैपिटल नहीं हो सकता था मेवाड़ का, क्योंकि सारा वहाँ 30,000 40,000 पीपल एक फोर्ट में रहता है।
जी
तो वो उसको बताने में सक्षम हुए हैं कि इसका आज भी उसका जो सिग्निफिकेंस है। और बाकी के स्ट्रक्चर्स इसलिए लोगों को परवाह नहीं है, एएसआई ने वो फोर्ट पे काम कर रही है उनके हाथ में, लेकिन परवाह इसलिए नहीं है कि अब जब रिवर से, कैनाल से घर पे पानी आ रहा है तो आपको उसकी आवश्यकता नहीं, वो सिर्फ अब
जी
एक टूरिस्ट प्लेस बन के रह गया है। लेकिन
जी
अगर आप टूरिस्ट प्लेस में भी 8-10 की बजाय 20-30 तक जाएंगे आपको, तो आपको अच्छा लगेगा। उन्होंने
जी
तालाब भी बताया, सबसे इंटरेस्टिंग उन्होंने घी
हाँ
एवं तेल की बावड़ी लिखा है। अगर आप उसको,
जी
आपने पढ़ा है अच्छे से, घी
जी
एवं तेल की बावड़ी, यानी जब राजा अपनी बेटी की, महाराणा शादी करा रहा है, तो जो आएगा वहां पे प्रोसेशन या जो भी बेटी की, तो
हम्म
प्रोसेशन के लिए इतना व्यंजन बनेगा। उससे आपको पता लगता है घी और तेल की बावड़ी, यानी हजारों लोग खाना खाएंगे, तभी उन्होंने उसको किया है,
हाँ जी
संग्रहण
जी
किया है उसका। तो पानी के संग्रहण के साथ घी एवं तेल, तो ये एक इंटरेस्टिंग फैक्टर उस चैप्टर से निकल के आता है, चित्तौड़ फोर्ट के वाटर मैनेजमेंट से।
जी जी
जी।
हाँ, एक और मैं इंटरेस्टिंग चैप्टर की में आपका अटेंशन लाना चाहूंगी, जो जल और सुरक्षा। इसमें उन्होंने सूर्य प्रकाश वैश्य जी पहले यहाँ पे थे, तो मैं उनसे ये सवाल उनसे डायरेक्ट ही पूछना चाहती थी, अभी तो वो नहीं है। तो मैं थोड़ा रुकती हूँ, शायद वो दोबारा ज्वाइन करे, तो मैं चैप्टर्स को स्किप करती हूँ, आपसे दूसरे सवाल पूछ लेती हूँ, ताकि वो वापस आए तो हम उन्हीं से पूछेंगे। आप भी हाईलाइट करिएगा, पर थोड़ा रुक जाते हैं उस पे सवाल। एक और बड़ा इंटरेस्टिंग चैप्टर लगा मुझे, जो कई बार नजरअंदाज किया जाता है, और मैंने इस चीज को अपने एक्चुअली फ्राइडे वाटर आर्ट्स में कैप्चर करने की कोशिश की है। वो है भारतीय सिनेमा के रंगमंच पर देशव्यापी जल समस्याओं का उभार। सुरेश कुमार जी ने लिखा है ये। एक्चुअली मुझे चैप्टर के टाइटल से ही पहली बार मदर इंडिया फिल्म याद आ गई थी, जब नरगिस जी इतने ड्राउट और बाद में फ्लड से भी अपने बच्चों को काफी और पूरे गांव को भी लेके जा रही थी। पर इस चैप्टर में बहुत अच्छे से ये चीज क्रोनोलॉजी जो होती है, जिसको एक बिब्लियोग्राफिकल स्टडी है ये, तो उन्होंने काफी अच्छे से कैप्चर किया है। आपके हिसाब से क्या जो आर्ट, सिनेमा, म्यूजिक, इन सब में एक्चुअली बहुत ज्यादा परिवर्तन लाने की क्षमता रहती है, पर कहीं ना कहीं जब हम वाटर के बारे में बात करते हैं तो हम सबसे ज्यादा तो इंजीनियरिंग और टेक्नोलॉजिकल साइंस पे डिस्कशन होता है, और थोड़ी बहुत डिस्कशन हुई अगर तो सोशल साइंस तक जाता है। आर्ट सेक्शन पे, म्यूजिक, फिल्म पे बहुत कम लोग, हम लोग उस पे ध्यान देते हैं। और आप यकीन मानिए, जब से मैंने फ्राइडे वाटर आर्ट्स करना शुरू किया और फ्राइडे वाटर फिल्म्स करना शुरू किया है, मेरे लिए इतना एनलाइटनिंग एक्सपीरियंस है। हमारे शो में श्याम बेनेगल सर खुद आ चुके हैं, वेल डन अब्बा फिल्म का जिक्र किया है, मुजीब का जिक्र किया है, जो उनकी रिसेंट फिल्म थी लास्ट ईयर की। तो मुझे लगता है कि ऐसे जो माध्यम है एजुकेशन के बात रखने की, हमेशा से बहुत स्ट्रांग रही है। कहीं मेन स्ट्रीम में भले हमको दिखती नहीं है, पर वो बहुत स्ट्रांग माध्यम होता है, और इस चीज को बहुत अच्छे से हाईलाइट किया है। आप क्या कहना चाहेंगे?
ये भी बहुत डाइवर्स सेगमेंट है, क्योंकि जब हम
जी।
अपना कॉन्फ्रेंस प्लान कर रहे हैं तो इतना आइडिया नहीं है कि कोई फिल्म पे भी बात करेगा, इतना हमारे
जी।
माइंड में नहीं आ पाया। तो सुरेश जी ने जब फिल्म लिया दो बूंद पानी, लगान, और जो आपने नाम
हाँ।
लिया वेल डन बाय श्याम बेनेगल, तो आशुतोष जी की जो मूवी लगान, तो ये
लगान।
सारी
जी।
बातें करते हुए, ये मूवीज हमने भी देखी है।
जी।
तो इससे आइडिया लगता है कि कितना मार्मिकता से उन्होंने अपना संवाद रखा है कि पानी की कमी से क्या क्या दिक्कतें आ सकती है, और कैसे गांव वाले लोग उसको कलेक्टिवली उसको रिजॉल्व करते हैं, अपने एंशियंट विजडम से वो करते हैं, धैर्य रखते हैं, हिम्मत रखते हैं। वो बहुत सारे सॉन्ग्स वगैरह भी पानी पे आते हैं। और देखिए कई सारी मूवीज में राज कपूर जी, अगर आप ध्यान देंगे तो
जी। जी।
बारिश
जी।
हो रही
जी।
है, कोई गाना गा
हाँ।
रहे हैं, तो बारिश
हाँ।
में
हाँ।
एक अलग टाइप का एसेंस,
हाँ,
हर टाइप का
रोमांटिक
एसेंस,
सॉन्ग्स बहुत, हाँ बिल्कुल, हाँ।
एस्थेटिक सेंस भी आता है बहुत सारी बातों का। तो वाटर रिलेटेड चीजों का तो एक इस टाइप से जो उन्होंने बहुत अच्छे से प्रेजेंट किया है, तो अच्छी बात है। और इस टाइप की मूवीज, डॉक्यूमेंट्रीज और भी बननी चाहिए, तो
बिल्कुल।
डेफिनेटली।
हमने फ्राइडे वाटर टॉकीज बोलते हैं हम जिसको, सीरीज को, हमने बहुत अच्छे फिल्म मेकर्स और यंग फिल्म मेकर्स से सीजन, जैसा मैंने बताया, सर को भी बुलाया था। सर वाज आल्सो क्वाइट सरप्राइज्ड कि हम वाटर से रिलेटेड फिल्म भी हम चर्चा करना चाहते हैं। बट जब ऐसी ये जो माध्यम है ये अंडर एक्सप्लोर्ड है वाटर सेक्टर में, इसलिए जरूरी है कि हम उनको मेन स्ट्रीम करने के लिए, हम लोग जो साइंटिफिक या सोशल साइंस बैकग्राउंड से हैं, टेक्निकल साइंस बैकग्राउंड से, उसके महत्ता को भी हम इम्पोर्टेंस दें। मेरा अगला सवाल जो है वो पाटन के जल विरासत, मैं खुद क्योंकि अहमदाबाद में रहती हूँ तो मेरे लिए बहुत क्लोज टू हार्ट है, ऐसा बोलना चाहिए, दिल के करीब। अशोक कुमार जी ने लिखा है, जो रानी की वाव, जो एक अब यूनेस्को वर्ल्ड हेरिटेज साइट में भी है, रानी की वाव एवं सहस्त्रलिंग तालाब, जो उसका बोलना चाहिए कॉम्प्लीमेंट्री वाटर बॉडी है। आप कुछ कहना चाहेंगे? और आप प्लीज कंटिन्यू करिए ऑथर और चैप्टर के बारे में, क्योंकि मुझे भी काफी सारा फ्यूचर रिसोर्स मटेरियल थ्रू ऑथर्स भी मिल रहे हैं आपके थ्रू।
जी मैम, वो जो चैप्टर लिखा है, तो उस चैप्टर में ऑब्वियसली सबसे इंटरेस्टिंग बात ये निकल के आती है कि रानी की वाव, जो हमने टॉक में फर्स्ट रखा, क्वींस
जी। जी।
डोनेशन एंड
कर्नाटक
देयर
में भी,
इंटरेस्ट इन
हाँ।
द वाटर स्ट्रक्चर्स, तो ये क्वीन का इंटरेस्ट है उस रानी की वाव। और आपको ये
जी।
अर्ली सेंचुरी से 8th 9th सेंचुरी में बनी है, लेकिन इसमें इंटरेस्टिंग बात क्या नजर आई कि ये विलुप्त हो गई। ये जो था वाटर स्ट्रक्चर जमीन के अंदर दब गया, और
जी।
इट वाज अनअर्थ इन 1940 and then
जी।
developed by the government of India in 1980. So
जी।
similarly, you would have listened about Ajanta Ellora caves कि वो भी भूल गए
हाँ।
थे, वो भी जंगलों में छिप गई थी। फिर अंग्रेज
जी।
अधिकारी आया, शेर का शिकार करते करते वहां पहुंच गया, तो ये छिप गई। तो आप देखिए कि किस प्रकार से नॉलेज हमारा खत्म उस कालखंड में भी हो रहा था, तो आज तो
जी।
उसकी बहुत प्रॉब्लम है। तो ये एक जनरलाइज स्टेटमेंट दे रहा हूँ। फिर सहस्त्रलिंग तालाब, तो जनरली लोगों को लगेगा सुनते वक्त कि वहां पे 1008 कुछ ऐसा, पर 1008 शिवलिंगा किनारे पे, पेरीफरी पे लेक के। तो सहस्त्रलिंग
जी।
तालाब का किनारे पे जो राजा ने जब बनाया, 1008 शिवलिंग वहां पे बनाए, तो उससे
जी।
उसका नाम सहस्त्रलिंग तालाब बना। तो ये जो वाट
जी।
और रानी की वाव, तो खैर मैंने देखा नहीं है पाटन में, लेकिन उस
जी।
आर्टिकल से पढ़ते हुए लगता 7 स्टोरीज का है,
जी।
अंडर
जी
अर्थ है,
बिल्कुल।
इन्वर्टेड,
बहुत, हाँ, ओवर पावरिंग है, बहुत ही ज्यादा ये है। हाँ जी।
इन्वर्टेड टेम्पल जैसा
हम्म।
उसका स्ट्रक्चर है।
हम्म।
और एक एक पूरा आप देखेंगे पेविलियन, आर्चेस, उसका बेसमेंट,
जी।
उसका, तो ये बहुत gigantic structure, और लोग बागों के जब हमारे 10 रुपए के नोट पे उसका मेंशन है रानी की वाव का,
जी जी
लेकिन
जी
मुझे नहीं लगता कि लोगों को पता है उसके बारे में, उस नोट के अंदर क्या है लोग नहीं देखते, 10 का आंकड़ा नजर आता है। तो वो
बहुत सही बोला आपने। जी
तो वो उसका बहुत इम्पोर्टेंस है कि इतना भव्य हमारा आर्किटेक्चर था। अंडरग्राउंड कैलाश टेम्पल जो है साउथ में, वो भी इस टाइप से
जी
रॉक कट
बिल्कुल।
आर्किटेक्चर है, ये भी इसी टाइप से बहुत ही अच्छा है, और इसको प्रिजर्व करना हमारा काम है, और यूनेस्को ने इसका दे दिया वर्ल्ड हेरिटेज साइट
जी
2004 में।
जी जी जी
जी।
बिल्कुल बिल्कुल। मैं वापस अब इंग्लिश सेक्शन में दोबारा जाना चाहती हूँ, कुछ कुछ रीडिग करने उधर। एक बहुत ही इंटरेस्टिंग रिजर्वायर का जिक्र है, माच कुंड, तृप्ता सिंह जी ने लिखा है। और क्योंकि हम अभी रानी की वाव बात किया, हमने पहले कर्नाटक की भी सेक्रेड, इसके बात किया, सिक्किम की भी बात की, सेक्रेड सॉरी लेक की, कर्नाटक की भी महारानी की बात की। मैं आपसे एक्चुअली थोड़ा और जानना चाहूंगी, माच कुंड के बारे में आप बताइए, और इवन ऑथर के बारे में भी थोड़ा बताइए।
Tripta Singh belongs to the INTACH. She works in INTACH.
हाँ
So
जी।
since she was in contact with me right when I
हम्म
joined the INTACH itself in 2012.
हम्म
Or
जी।
whenever I go to Delhi, I used to visit INTACH headquarters
हाँ
at Lodi
हम्म
Estate. So she was in touch. So she participated in the conference, and
हाँ
the Machkund is a reservoir in Dholpur area of Rajasthan, eastern
जी
part of Rajasthan.
जी,
So she writes a story about the King Machkund, who built that
हाँ
reservoir, or was about the King Machkund. She says he was the out of the 3 or 4 sons, he was one of the son of King Mandata,
हम्म
and that time period is of Mahabharat area. Mahabharat time period is there, and the King
जी
Machkund went to some cave for some worshipping and for some
जी
meditation and all these things, and it is related to Krishna story. She mentions the story itself in the chapter, and then she comes directly to the 19th century. The temples,
यस
Ladli Mohan Temple, Jagmohan Temple are built, and she mentions architecture that Chakravyu is on the engraved on the entry gate of one of the temple. So
जी
Chakravyu of that Mahabharata, which Kauravas
जी
made for
जी
the Pandavas, and then Deepdan, Maha-Aartis are there. So she just mentions about the festivals, religious things around the Machkund. So that
जी
has been there. Related to the stories also, maybe on Mahabharata is taken to be correct because of the archaeological evidence. So, so she just moves us from Mahabharata to the present times in the
yes
religious background.
yes absolutely. So very well put. Actually, I have to also keep track of time. I'm going to ask one or two questions to you, and then also leave to you if you would like to add any few more chapters highlights here. But we are doing good in covering. We have covered more than 10 chapters in having a very brief discussion. But as I mentioned earlier, I would like to mention again, the way the book is written, it really encourages you to read one chapter at a time, maybe just to get a rough idea, broad idea of what's going on there. And if you really get interested in it, you can sink yourself into the deeper knowledge of the same place. And as you rightly mentioned also, Piyush, that if there can be PhDs on one river, one PhD at least, I think that will be wonderful. I think that can only happen if we have Institute of River, and every candidate coming out of that institute is really assigned one river to take responsibility and study it over 3 4 years and come up with it. Wow, this is a good idea. I think we have to start working on this proposal. My next question to you is on Mandu's water architectural system, and I chose this chapter particularly because in architecture, we are encouraging every architecture school students to at least visit Mandu once. Just like Vijayanagaram, the water system of Mandu is overwhelming. It is definitely worth knowing, visiting. Written by Vartika Punia, and I was really so happy to read it, that it is written so simply, just to understand the basics of it and then get into details if required, and a very good blend of social, ecological, and engineering part of it. So over to you.
Yes, first thing I would again like to mention about Vartika. She has just completed her MA, and she was involved in the talk, and her chapter is being accepted, as Miss Rongson said. Because what I wanted about the book is very easy language should be there, readable, understandable, and the message should be conveyed. So the Vartika also has put very beautifully about the Mandu's water management system in the fort of Mandu.
Yes.
She mentions about especially about the Jahaj Mahal, and then
Yes.
the, the water planning is there about of the nobility and the king. Some hot water is coming, cool water is coming, and one pipeline is for the steam. See,
Yeah.
we have generally in our bathrooms two format: cold water and
Yes.
hot water. And in that time, in the bathrooms, three steam is also coming, so you can have steam bath, and
Yes.
the surrounding will be cooled through the water, through the air coming
Air
over the
coming through
water,
the
and there
water.
will be Andheri Bauli, then Ujala Bauli, Andheri because there won't be light in that, and Ujala because there will be light, it will be surfaced out things, that Bauli. So, and the Jahaj is male because Jahaj like structure is there, floating between two water structures. So picturesque description about the Jahaj Mahal and
Yes.
Mandu. And again, she mentions about the Nilkant Mahadev temple and that. So I was just amazed because it's a Muslim architecture in Malwa and Mandu, and you can find the Hindu systems also there. So that
Yes.
also appealed me. So
Yes,
wonderfully
absolutely.
written.
Yeah. And also, I mean, I'm now reading through you, I'm also really finding it very, very interesting because we are constantly in search of young water scholars. And I think when these kind of scholars are found to do this wonderful work as seniors, it becomes our duty to really continue to motivate them and mentor them to stay in the water sector, because many a times many people leave the water sector and choose other sector because of the employability issues. So I will definitely be interested to hold on to these young water brigades and really be in touch with them, and especially get in touch with Vartika and all the young people here. I also realized in this book that most of the authors are also, females, and that also was quite, motivating for me personally to look at it. Majority are females, of course. There are very good authors who have written here. I see that Surya Prakash ji is not joining in further, so I would like to take that chapter on Jal and Suraksha, Jal or Suraksha by Surya Prakash Vyas. And we have my last question to you, and then ask you to really have a description of some questions. And I see that it's wonderfully written about the water being transboundary at a smaller scale, and even going to the scale of Indus Water Treaty. तो उन्होंने भारत पाकिस्तान के रिश्ते की भी बात की है। तो मुझे बहुत अच्छा लगा ये बात कि मैं एक्चुअली अभी एक पेपर खुद लिख रही हूँ कि जितना हमने वाटर कॉन्फ्लिक्ट पे खर्च किया है, स्कॉलरशिप भी पैसा भी, उतना अगर हमने वाटर एंड पीस पे खर्च किया होता तो समाज और दुनिया और देश बहुत अलग तरीके से देखे जाते। आपका क्या विचार है इस चैप्टर
मैम,
के बारे में?
इस चैप्टर में देखिए, जल हमारे जीवन की जरूरत है। इसके अलावा जल किस किस प्रकार से हमारे धार्मिक कामों में आ सकता है, और
जी।
धार्मिक कामों में आया ऋग्वैदिक काल से। जब हम सिस्टम को समझ
जी।
नहीं पाते थे तो हमारे देवी
जी।
देवता कौन थे? नेचुरल थे, जिनसे
जी।
हम भय भी रखते थे और जिनसे हमारी अपेक्षाएं थी। तो इंद्र वहां पे
जी।
सर्वोपरि बनकर आता है। आप वहां से
जी।
देखते हैं कि हमारे जो हिंदू परंपरा है, वो परंपरा प्रकृति की पूजा है। जब हम सनातन की
जी।
बात करते हैं तो मैं अपने व्यूअर्स को और इस माध्यम से, सनातन मेरी दृष्टि में प्रकृति की पूजा है। प्रकृति से हमारा
एनिमिज्म जिसको मैं कहती हूँ, एनिमिज्म।
नेचुरलिज्म आप कह सकते हैं। और इस प्रकार से तो उसमें आप ये देखेंगे कि जो चीज हमारे को बायोटिक फैक्टर्स, एबायोटिक फैक्टर्स, हम बायोटिक फैक्टर में तो एबायोटिक फैक्टर वाटर, एयर, टेम्परेचर, सनलाइट, ये कितना हमारे जीवन में जरूरी है, इनका मानना, इनको पूजा करने का मतलब है कि हम इनके प्रति कृतज्ञ है कि ये हमारे को जीवनदायिनी है। तो जल की जीवन के अलावा जल कैसे हमारे जीवन को सुरक्षित कर सकता है कि भाई, जैसे मैंने उदय सागर का एग्जांपल दिया कि वाटर फ्लश आउट कर लेगा। फिर वो सिर्फ रिजर्वायर्स से सुरक्षा की बात नहीं कर रहे हैं कि वो एनिमी को, इन्वेजन को सुरक्षित करेगा। वो टेरिटोरियल जोन ऑफ द सी की बात कर रहे हैं। 7,516 किलोमीटर की हमारी टेरिटोरियल जो लाइन है, सी लाइन,
जी। जी।
उसकी बात करते हैं। आपने बताया कि वाटर ट्रीटी, इंडस वाटर ट्रीटी, फरक्का वाटर ट्रीटी
जी।
पाकिस्तान के साथ बात करते हैं। फिर वो 12 नॉटिकल माइल्स की बात करते हैं, फिर 24 नॉटिकल
जी।
माइल्स की बात करते
जी।
हैं।
जी,
तो
बिल्कुल बिल्कुल।
आर्टिकल देखिए कैसे हमारा बता रहा है कि वहां पे हमारी नेवी सुरक्षा करेगी। वर्तमान समय में, प्राचीन काल में कैसे रिजर्वायर्स हमारी सुरक्षा कर सकते थे कि वो इस तरीके से घेर लेते थे कि एनिमी आएगा तो फंस जाएगा, पानी का फ्लश। तो इतनी सारी बातें, वो जल और सुरक्षा तो सिर्फ एक अलग डायमेंशन वो लेके आते हैं।
बिल्कुल बिल्कुल बिल्कुल। एक्चुअली मैं सच बोलूं तो आपके साथ मुझे लग रहा है कि सारे 44 चैप्टर्स को एक एक करके ही लेके बात करते तो बहुत मजा आता, क्योंकि आपके लिए एक रिफ्रेशिंग और रिव्यू भी हो जाता। पर मेरे लिए ये बहुत आश्चर्य की बात है कि आप हर चैप्टर को इतने थॉरोली जानते हैं। ऑफ कोर्स एज एन एडिटर आपको जानना भी आपका अधिकार भी है और आपकी ड्यूटी भी है, बट आप इतने बारीकी से चीजों को जानते हैं, समझ रहे हैं, और आप ऑथर्स को भी इतने अच्छे से जानते हैं। आई cannot really imagine to have a better session than this, Peeyush. I will be very honest on this. But because of the time, I have to stop my questions, and I would like you to really take some of the chapters and
I will
highlight.
share one small PPT. I will take two,
Sure.
3 minutes so that you can go
Yes,
through the
please.
glimpse of the chapters which you have just asked.
Absolutely.
Yes,
Yes.
please.
And also you may like to highlight some of the chapters which I could not cover through through my questions, so that will be wonderful. Please go ahead.
Yes. I would just like to know if my screen is coming.
Yes, it is visible. Please put
Yes,
it on
so
the
the
slideshow.
first, yes. Okay, it is coming. Now I will just move up.
Now put it on the slideshow first, please. Yeah.
Yes, I'm just trying to do that. It's not coming here.
नीचे आपको स्लाइड शो दिख रहा होगा ना? आपके नहीं, आपको शेयर स्क्रीन में नहीं आ रहा है?
हाँ, उसमें थोड़ा
ऊपर
सा
भी स्लाइड शो में ऊपर भी आ रहा होगा स्लाइड शो में. Sure, it's now perfect. Go ahead. But I'm not seeing you, huh? So now you are not visible. पीयूष, आप म्यूट में हैं. If you are hearing me, आप म्यूट में हो. Please unmute yourself. Piyush, please unmute yourself.
yes, it's a problem. When I went for the screen share, it automatically developed that feature. I will again go.
Please try again. Yes.
Is it coming? My voice is coming?
And you are also audible. Yes, go ahead.
Okay. Okay. So you can see the first chapter about water heritage of Southeast Rajasthan, we have discussed it. Second chapter, interregional timber trade by Professor Louisa, we have discussed it. Third chapter, we couldn't discuss it about the Bagmati river. That river flows from Nepal to India. She has mentioned about the 3 formats, rivers from the Tibet coming, which is flowing through the Nepal.
I had questions from this chapter. I forgot. I'm so sorry, but yes,
it's okay.
I now realize.
But she's mentioning about the sacredness of the Bagmati river. We have all the rivers sacred in India. So in Nepal also the similar culture is there. But she is just focusing on the pollution of the Bagmati, which is flowing close to the Pashupatinath temple. When Indians are going to the Pashupatinath, we have treaties with the Nepal. My suggestion is that we should help that country in coming out of this trouble of Bagmati, because it is related to the Pashupatinath. Many of our leaders frequently visit Pashupatinath. So this is appealing in that segment. Now it's a therapeutic to pathogenic, the multifarious role of water in Indian classical medical text. So water is an important entity, Panchbhut Tattva, and how we shall take the water. So there are aspects of taking water, also boiled water, pure water, and those things are discussed.
Water and health is very well covered.
Yes. In the 6th chapter of Meghna Madam, again, Madhya Pradesh stepwells called Bawadis in the local language are being discussed. Now, 7th chapter is very interesting about the Kuttanad. I am just going to visit Kuttanad in the coming time. In the next week, I am visiting the Kuttanad in Kerala. That's an heritage agricultural area in Kerala. So it is just being surrounded by 3 districts, and it is just called the Holland of Kerala, because water is being reclaimed from the Vembanad lake there, and it is called the Nilium there. So Nilium means reclaimed land in the Kuttanad. So it is a rice growing area, and it is being included in the agriculture heritage site of India. Wow. So about my chapter, we have discussed the unique water management. Now about the architecture of Jodhpur. So Jodhpur is a water scarce area in the western Rajasthan. So there are jalras, there are tanks, there are bawadis, and some sagars are there. So there are 3 terminology: small water reservoir, talai, middle one is Talab, and bigger one is Sagar. Now, about the 10th is of Dr. Abhimanyu Singh Ada. He discusses about the travel through the districts of Western Rajasthan. In the 11th, we have CSR responsibility by Aditi Mahajan. Now, this Kachupulari lake we have discussed by Vindhya Chetri in Sikkim. Now, we have this worship of water deities Sati Asara in Maharashtra. It is also interesting. 7 collective goddesses being given one name, Sati Asara. We give Nav Durga into one Durga. That is the 9 formats of the Durga in Navratri. So 7 deities are being described in Sati Asara and worship around the water systems in the Maharashtra. Now water and management in Karnataka. This 14th chapter we have discussed by Harihar Srinivasan Rao. And now we have 15th chapter by Geeta Madam of Karnataka, sluice gates, how this sluice gates serve as a connecting channels from water bodies to the other needed when water is needed through the irrigation system. So just a gate and ornamented gates, some religious things are ascribed to the gates, some icons or some sculptures of gods and goddesses are being made on the sluice gates of Karnataka. So that needs to be preserved. She talks about that. About the inclusion of the water in school curriculum by Hemant Pandya, school
so
teacher.
Close to my heart, actually. We need a separate session on this, actually.
Yes,
how
this
water
chapter is
taught.
very interesting because in the new education policy, whether we have included the water management or we are talking repeatedly about the ancient Indian wisdom, about the Gyan Parampara and Indian traditional knowledge system. But what we have been doing, let the students know about that first. So he speaks on that. Now about the conservation system of India, about Deepti Jaiswal, she speaks how the ancient structures have been developed. And Kusum Sharma madam in the 18th chapter speaks about the traditional techniques of water purification. Alum technique is there, boiling technique is there, filtration, sedimentation. And she speaks about the water diseases, cholera, typhoid, and all these things. So interesting because you should know how water can create diseases also, if not taken appropriately.
Absolutely. It's the least studied sector, water and health, and water epidemics is so serious. We want to actually start water epidemic session.
See, if corona is spread through the air, if would have spread through water, what would have been the situation of the world? You can understand from this. Machkund we have discussed, and then Shashikant Wadekar we have discussed in the Goa, some festivals related to water. Meda Dubey madam has been discussed. Pooja Dubey speaks of the conservation. Then Paro Tomar speaks about the Thar Desert. She speaks about the Munot Nancy Marwadi Vigat, and she speaks how the detailed account of the Marwad area, that is Western Rajasthan, and how the cities were being developed across the lakes and the depression areas and towns were being developed. In that area we called Sar. Rani Sar is a place. So Rani Sar means developed by the Rani, and Sar is word for the water body, Sar. Okay, Deepa Sar, Deta Sar, Sar. So that is being reflected. Vasundhara talks about the reverse connect.
I wanted to cover in my question, I will be very honest, but I had to really choose to keep the time.
About the Rongsen Ben madam, we have discussed. Mandu, we have discussed. Now 27th number article is very interesting about the oral tradition of Deshnok in Bikaner by Preeti Sandhu. She was also MA scholar. She participated and well put her article, well placed article. Oral is very important thing in the Western Rajasthan related to the religious things also, because when we speak about the Karni Mata Devi of Deshnok, so her Orans are being described in this chapter, how she developed the Orans, and some godly things were there for that goddess. We worship, the people of Western Rajasthan worship Karni Mata, and Oran is just attached to the forest area, close to the water body, sacred grove. We can have that sacred grove system to the Oran. So these are being discussed. Very good article. Now, 28th one is Thepa Thiruvija of Thiruparanakundram. So Thiruparanakundram is a place close to Madurai, and Ravina madam discussed about the this water festival being celebrated, ascribed to the god Kartikeya and his wife Devyani. So this is a floating festival in the lake. Some boat is being made, and the god idol is being placed on that, and again the things are surrounding that. Now the article 29th about the ancient carriage system by Ritik Pramod, it discusses about the inland channels. We discuss about the canal and irrigation channels or aqueducts, but this is underground structures in the Karnataka, in the Bidar city. So very interesting about that.
Very well documented.
Yes. About it is there are two specifically he mentions about the carriage, one for public and one for the king.
And it's a very well documented also as UNESCO's project.
Yes. Then we have from Sri Krishna Jugnu sir, we have discussed. Anita Kaudia madam speaks about the water structures of Udaipur, Mewad ki Bawdiya.
About women, by the way, नारी की भूमिका उन्होंने बहुत अच्छे से रखा है.
सब ऋतु विलास की बावड़ी पे बात करती हैं और मेवाड़ में राजकुमारियों ने, महारानियों ने कैसे उसको संरक्षित किया है, कंजर्व किया है, पैसा दिया, उस पे बात है. मेवाड़ की बावड़िया पे पूरा इस एरिया की बावड़िया वो बता रहे हैं आशीष जी. फिर महेंद्र कुमार सर्वा छत्तीसगढ़ की जीवनदायिनी महानदी नदी पे वो बात करते हैं. आपने छत्तीसगढ़ की नर्मदा बात करी, महानदी जो ईस्ट फ्लोइंग थी उसको.
मैंने महानदी भी पूछा क्योंकि मैं खुद अभी छत्तीसगढ़ में बैठी हूँ और मैं खुद छत्तीसगढ़ी हूँ.
तो महानदी नदी पे ये बात हुई है.
जी.
तो वो बड़ा उस पर ले जाते हैं कि इस तरीके से डैम्स बने हैं और कैसे उसने इस एरिया को प्रॉस्पर किया. कि मनोज दादीच वहाँ गुजरात के जल संसाधन में सोलंकी शासक की बात करते हैं, तो वो पूरा पाटन भी लेते हैं, शस्त्रालिंग वाव भी और झील भी लेते हैं और भी एरिया को डिस्कस करते हैं. पूजा सांकला जी पे हमने चर्चा करी, चित्तौड़गढ़ गोपाल जी पे चर्चा कर ली हमने, जल और सुरक्षा. फिर मेवाड़ में गोगुंदा एक एरिया है, वहां पे अजय मोची बताते हैं कि क्योंकि गोगुंदा में महाराणा प्रताप का राज तिलक नीलकंठ बावड़ी के किनारे हुआ था, तो वो सारी बातें करते हैं. आमेर किले का बहुत ही वाटर मैनेजमेंट इंटरेस्टिंग है, जैसे चित्तौड़ किले का है. तो आमेर किले में टेक्नोलॉजी ज्यादा इन्वॉल्व है. चित्तौड़ के फोर्ट में तो नॉर्मल फॉर्मेट है कि हमने डिग किया या डिप्रेशन को यूज किया. आमेर का किला में पानी नीचे से ऊपर उठाया जाता है सिस्टम से पूरा. मावठा लेक से
मानसागर है वहां पे, मानसागर से ऊपर आता है.
मानसागर थोड़ा दूर है आमेर के किले से. आमेर के किले के नीचे मावठा झील है.
लेवल पे है.
मावठा झील से पानी लिया जाता है आमेर के किले में. और जयगढ़ का किला पास में है, तो वहां पे भी वाटर हार्वेस्टिंग स्ट्रक्चर्स जो बाहर की तरफ से चैनल्स है और अंदरूनी जो चैनल्स है, तो बड़ा इंटरेस्टिंग है कि वहां पे कैसे सिस्टम लगा के पानी को सारे पैलेसेस में या फोर्ट्स में कैसे यूज किया जाता था. फिर मोहित शंकर भीनमाल, जहाँ वैनसांग गए थे 7th सेंचुरी में, तो भीनमाल पे चर्चा है. भीनमाल राजस्थान की दो महत्वपूर्ण नगरों में आता था. भीनमाल था और एक विराटनगर जिसको जयपुर कहते हैं. ये वेस्टर्न राजस्थान में है. तो वहां पे क्या एनक्रोचमेंट हो रहे हैं, वहां कितने टांका कहते थे, और इस पे बावड़ी पे बात करते हैं वो. और सिनेमा पे हमने बात करी दी थी. तो पाटन पे भी हमारी बात हो चुकी है. डिग जो कि भरतपुर में आता है, बहुत ही अच्छा वहाँ वाटर स्ट्रक्चर्स है, लोगों को टूरिस्ट प्लेस है. तो वो पूरा बताते हैं कि किस प्रकार से रूपारेल नदी का पानी लाया जाता है होम्स नहर के द्वारा और वाटर स्ट्रक्चर्स को भरा जाता है. तो हमने बताया कि कैसे ओवरफ्लो होके नदी में जाता है, ये पानी नदी से लाके इसको यूज कर रहे हैं. फिर अभिषेक पुष्करणी सरोवर, वो बात करते हैं कि एक सरोवर है वहां पे, राजा महाराजा जब राज तिलक होता था तो उनका अभिषेक होता था. तो ये बात राम वचन जी करते हैं. तो इस प्रकार से ये पुस्तक सामान्य पाठकों के लिए आप देखेंगे कि बहुत ही इजी गोइंग है. और मैं ये नहीं कहता कि कंप्लीट है, बहुत ही संक्षिप्त वर्णन कहूंगा, क्योंकि वाटर पे तो आप वॉल्यूम्स एंड वॉल्यूम्स पे काम कर सकते हैं, लिख सकते हैं. लेकिन जो हमको कॉन्फ्रेंस के दौरान जो प्रेजेंटेशन हुए और बाद में जिन्होंने फुल पेपर हमें दिए, तो ये पूरा बुक उस कोरोना काल में हम जितना कर सकते थे उतना किया. अगर हम आज की तारीख पे इस पे काम करना चाहें तो ऑब्वियसली, जैसे हमने लेटेस्ट कॉन्फ्रेंस करी है एनिमल्स इन द हिस्ट्री ऑफ साउथ एशिया, mines, minerals, and metallurgy in the history of South Asia. So lots of people can come to Udaipur, see the Udaipur, involve in the conference and give the articles, and we can edit and beautifully make the edited volume to be used by the readers and coming generations. So this is now I can stop sharing and come back to
Sure, please. Thank you so much, Peeyush. I mean, I told you, when I started reading this book, of course, every reader looks at how many pages and all. And I didn't really feel the heat of reading so many pages and so many chapters. And as I was telling, mentally, I was traveling to those places. So thank you for allowing me to travel to all over the country and even to some neighboring countries and places. And that was the best part of reading this book. I encourage everybody to really go across this book. And also, I will take your advice and support to really invite some of the speakers who will be readily available, but definitely all the speakers on our platform to strengthen this online water education, which we are trying to develop through Friday.Waters, Monday Munching with Women for Water. So all the women, we will be extremely happy to have you here, and also understanding how women managed water, and that we do on Monday. And then, of course, the Friday series, as I have discussed in advance. So with these words, we are really running much more in the designed time of the session, but in certain sessions which are extremely, interesting, I would have loved to go on with my 44 questions, and I restrained myself, to be honest, with 20 questions. So thank you, Peeyush, for being so candid. And also, I think the best part with discussing with you was that you were so thorough with knowing your authors and their write-ups, and that was for me wonderful. Let me just see if there are any one question or two questions. I would love to take it from the participants, and also check through YouTube if there is any, because this is rare that we are not inviting participants to ask or interact with the author. Usually we have that option. So I see Dhanushi, would you like to ask your question? I see you have put something in the chat box. Maybe if you would like to open your mic and ask, please go ahead.
Yes, thank you. So I'm from the South Asia Rainwater Network, and I actually, when I saw this on LinkedIn, I was so excited to join. I think I joined little late, though. So we like I have come across here and there about some of the ancient structures, and it was so fascinating. And would love to also share this with our membership also from South Asia. And you touched upon rainwater harvesting structures and practices also. We do in Sri Lanka also, like we have some of the like structures which is also documented like in some parts by some authors here and there. So maybe it's a good start. Like there were a lot of things, lot of for me, I was fascinated and thought of getting connecting with speakers, with resource persons who has done research on different areas, from rivers to from ancient structures to rainwater harvesting, women, all that. So how could we in another discussion with with you and also with Peeyush, we would love to connect for further collaboration.
Wonderful. Yeah, thank you so much. And thanks, Dhanushi. Just to let you know that W4W Foundation has been running Friday.Waters, Wednesday for Water, which is our signature series. And we can talk about it. I have already left you a message there. If you can write to us, and also look at our social media and website to get an idea that we are trying to develop this repository and online education on this. And now once I also know Peeyush, I think he's on board to get into the core team and help me strengthen this, because what Peeyush did it through his book, we are trying to do it in a digital format and get as many people as who are in water sector, because we are minority in another way. So very happy to collaborate and see how we can take things further. And to get it done, I think the first thing will be to really have some discussion from Sri Lanka also through you. So if you can gather a good group and check out our Wednesdays for Water session. And maybe we can have Asia, because I am starting Asia series from July, where we want to touch upon different parts of Asia. And we are actually starting with Japan, and the father of lakes, Nakamura Sensei, is going to talk about lakes of Japan and world, and he's coming on 24th of July. So I was not going to reveal it here, but I'm so tempted to reveal it. So we can really take up Sri Lanka in August if you like to, and we have substantial time to plan for it. And Peeyush is already planning a lot of things, so Peeyush can add.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. I want to add to your talk about the Dhanushi madam. Recently, we organized the conference in Udaipur in the month of January, Minerals, Mining and Metallurgy in South Asia. 4 scholars from Sri Lanka attended the conference. Might be Dhanushi knowing them. Professor Chulani Ramukwala, Chair Archaeology Professor at Peradeniya University. Then we have Sonali Dasnaike madam, then Upeksha Gamange madam, and one Jay Singhe Kem. He spoke about the gems of the Sri Lanka. And Madam Chulani gave me the proposal to study or compare between the water structures of Udaipur and Kandy. She was speaking too
Wow.
much about the candy water management. She
So we
says
already have next speaker, Dhanushi. So we can start planning, definitely.
Yes, definitely.
Yeah, we'll take
We
it
will.
out. This discussion has to happen outside this recording because we must focus on the Friday.Waters book reading on this session, but definitely open to collaboration. You have my details, and you also have now Peeyush detail, which is there written up in the chat box. You can look at it, and we will look for collaboration. Thank you so much. And I really have to take a call as the moderator and host of the session to call it off for the day. So it was wonderful to really have this session. Can't ask more from life when we learn from the horse's mouth. In this case today, it was Peeyush to really enlighten us, Dr. Peeyush Bhadviya, to name his fully. Thanks to all the participants on the YouTube. I know many of our ex-speakers really now prefer to watch on YouTube. So thanks for your support and encouragement to continue. We are closely inching towards 300 sessions. So do keep watching us, supporting us, and also help us finding wonderful speakers as we have today. Do join us for our Friday.Waters Thesis Club on June 26th at 5 p.m. IST. And we have Shipra Singh, a professor from Delhi University, young professor from Delhi University. She's going to talk about Son River Basin and look at its climate change and water sustainability aspect of it. Then next week, we have on Wednesdays for Water, January 19th, we will continue with our Lake Pond series. We have already done more than 10 sessions with really serious workers and practitioners and academicians on lakes and ponds. That's my personal area of research, so I'm running that as a series. And we have Lokendra Thakkar from EPCO Bhopal, and he's going to talk about the implementation and impact of wetland rules 2017 in context of Madhya Pradesh. And that's on June 19th, sorry, on at 5 p.m. IST. And so our sessions are at 5 p.m. IST. For more session details, for more author details, for more about WforW Foundation, do log into our website, www.wforw.in. And for now, please take care of yourself, and we are going to see each other very soon. Do keep supporting us. All we need is have a water conversation, because at WforW, we strongly believe that water conversation is crucial to water conservation. And that's our fundamental reason that we have started this think tank as Citizens Collective. Do join us and keep joining us on Fridays and Wednesdays and Mondays. Thank you so much, Peeyush, and I really loved the session today.
Thank you for inviting me and giving me the opportunity, and my due regards to your great work. Where we be in your team again? What your talk that you want me?
Yeah.
Thank you, madam.
Thank you so much. Please take care.